The one who refuses to change. This is the message for those of you all who are pretty much fed up with an individual or group who says that this is how I'm going to be. I don't need you to tell me otherwise. I'm not going to change. I have no intention of changing, and you're not going to put pressure on me to change. Fed up with having the discussion with the individual or group. Fed up with the praying, fed up with directing them to the necessary resources, and yet they do nothing. Tired of having the long conversation as to why it is beneficial to come up higher, to stop going back into the old way of doing things. 5 years has gone by and the person still hasn't changed. 10, 15, 20 plus years, and they're still making the same mistakes with money, with family, with business, and even with the one true God. When you bring up the issues, they have an excuse. There is always an excuse. When you talk to them about how they might do some things different in order to achieve what it is that they have opened up their mouth and said, not something that you put in their mouth, but something that they have said they wanted to do, and yet they will still fight. They will still refuse correction. They will still come up with yet another reason as to why I don't want to do it that way. Don't you realize full 15, 20, 30 some years have gone by and you're still doing the same thing, says the woman who's frustrated with her husband. Don't you realize that you haven't changed and that you're still going down that old slopey path of foolishness, says the father to the son. Can't you just realize that what you are doing is causing more problems than solutions, says the manager to his workers, but yet they will continue to walk in areas or down paths or do the same thing and get the same results. What does it take? I'll tell you what it takes is eventually you throwing your hands up and saying enough is enough. Sometimes people will go ahead and they'll do things because now you're not pressuring them. Now you're not around anymore to hold them accountable. They get tired of losing. They finally see the light in what you're saying. But what you can easily do as that counselor, advisor, teacher, manager, parent, what have you, is you can end up being in a binding situation with people like this. You can find yourself so focused on wanting them to change, so focused on whatever false promises they have given you, so hopeful about things that are not going to change, that you can drive yourself mad. Some people have driven themselves 6 feet into the grave. Mama was still hoping that her son would change. Mama was still grieving over the fact that her daughter was doing what she was doing. 6 feet deep in the grave. Brokenhearted. God didn't call you to that, but Satan did. Satan did. Satan called you to a whole lot of things that would keep you enslaved. If you're not on the phone talking to a person who refuses to change, you're going over their home. And if you're not going over their home, you're communicating with them through social media. And if you're not doing that, you're still having some type of connection, whether it's through third parties who tell you, oh yeah, by the way, you know he's still up to no good. Oh, really? And then you get drawn into the conversation. Next thing you know, you're back to frustrated again, back to being caught up in the snare of the enemy, worried about so-and-so who simply is not going to change. There are women as well as men waiting on people to change. I fell in love with him 5 years ago and still waiting for him to leave his wife, says the mistress. I've been holding out for this woman for 20 some years and she still want to be with that no good, sorry, you know what, who beats on her, who takes her money and everything else. I am so done. That's right. You should be done. You should be done, because you can give some people pep talks until you're blue in the face and they're still going to say, okay, yeah, I'll do that. And they never will. because there's something that they are enslaved to mentally, physically, and spiritually. Sometimes it's a person, sometimes it's a spirit, sometimes it's a vice like drinking and drugs and, anything else they can come up with. And the more you preach, for some people, the more they run to it. I remember a woman who said, you keep on talking to me about my eating, and I'm going to keep on eating. You keep coming to me, talking to me about this, that, and the other, and I'm going to keep on doing what I want to do because you don't control me. Some people don't see the benefit in what you're saying. Instead, what they see is a person that's trying to control them. And maybe in some cases, that's what's going on with some people. But for many, they're not doing that. They just simply want to see something better happen in the lives of their loved ones. Okay. That's what they're really after. They want to see the loved one become the success. They want to see somebody stand by the word, live by the word. They want to see the benefits, and they also want to reap the benefits because they know that if you do well, then they're going to do well. Right. And you want that for some of your family members and friends, but they're just not going to get it. They're not going to get it in this life, and they're not going to get it in the next life. The next life where God is going to judge them accordingly on how they lived their lives while they were walking on this planet. Some people don't want to think that deeply. They don't want to think ahead, but this is what this message, as well as others, do. It challenges you to think. Do I really want to spend my remaining years waiting on somebody who refuses to change? Do I want to keep praying for people, spending all this energy on people who have already said, I am not going to do what you told me to do? In so many words, some of them didn't come out and tell you. Some of them just simply did it by being rebellious. You told them to go right. They said, nope, I'm going left. And the writing was on the wall. I'm telling you, for some of you all, you are going to get to a place where you're going to go to the one true God and you're going to cry many, many tears because once again, you allowed yourself to be overwhelmed with somebody else's stuff, somebody else's issues, somebody else's stress. Even when God said, give me those burdens and I'll take over those burdens. And you said, but I can do this and I can do that. And the Lord said, not without me, you can't. That's why you're so frustrated, because you're trying to do stuff on your own. That's why you get so bent out of shape. You start yelling, cussing, fussing. You start off having a good conversation with somebody, and then it ends up being very stressful because that person is stubborn, because that person doesn't want to change, because that person thinks that they know everything, because that person doesn't want to receive anything you have to say because they still got issue with you. And then when you know this, you definitely know you're not going to get through to the son, to the daughter, to the parent, to the husband, to the wife who you have offended over and over again. This is where you have to be the one to make the decision. Do I want this person to remain in my life? It doesn't matter the title, but do I want to be up close and personal in this person's life any longer? Because I'm telling you, Lord, it's too much for me. And I'm so tired of having tears over this individual. And God, I will tell you, I am a witness. He will take the tears, the fears, the worries, the stresses away. You cannot teach old dogs new tricks. I know some of you all might think that you can because maybe you persuaded him to do this 1 or 2 or 3 things, or maybe you were able to get her to do a few things for you. But at the end of the day, somebody going to go right back to the same old, and it's going to be frustrating as you know what. And you're going to say to yourself, why do I keep going down this path? And the Lord's going to say, yes, why? We live in a world where there are so many people who are just determined to keep problems going because the enemy has put them up to doing so. And those problems ensnare people. And when people are ensnared, they do not come up higher, not physically, not mentally, not spiritually. If anything, they are set back. So as the Lord is leading you to distance yourself from certain people, places, and things that refuse to or people, I should say, that refuse to do anything different. Understand He is doing it for your physical, spiritual, and mental well-being. He doesn't want His people enslaved. He doesn't want His people chasing after folks, wishing and hoping for something that's not going to come. God knows the future. People, like I said, have ended up 6 feet in their grave, still hoping, wishing, and waiting for people who never did change. Don't be one of them. Life is too short. I thank you as always for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen. You've been listening to YouTube NM Enterprise 7. By all means, if you would like to give, you are welcome to do so. Please do check the description box. And if you would like to subscribe, comment, you can do that as well. Blessings to you.